No need to rush it.
Yeah, because I feel like if I would have kept it, I just would have bombed it. So I'd rather not put myself in that position.
That's good. You can recognize it before you had anything bad occur. You just like drop and be done with it, which is good. Does it even okay? Yeah, you're trying to avoid maybe summer, which I had to.
Yeah, I was talking to Miss Jackson, but it doesn't seem that way. I mean, I can if I want to, but I think she said I didn't even have to take it in the summer.
You still could take it either next semester or the final semester you're here. Did she? I forget if you're coming with us to University of Cincinnati.
So I did talk to her about it. I haven't got like an application or anything yet to fill
Right.
out, but she said she would send it to me. And she asked who was interested, and
Right.
I think I do want to go.
Because where's the last time you saw her? Monday night? Because she was asking me, she's like, I need details. And we got details Friday that it would, or Tuesday, so in between Monday and now. And they would leave the same schedule as last year, Friday of next week. And then come back Saturday. But it's Friday early morning. They try to do all the visits. Obviously, this class would either just be a freebie. Fine, that's fine.
So I know that she wasn't able to go. So who is going?
I am, and then I have an email out to Beyonce. She said she could, and she would be the one who rode the bus down. But I will have to get my family and then bring them to the hotel and be there with you guys at the hotel. So that's the challenge with me. Yes, I'm talking about UC trip. We got the details. Leave 7 a.m. on Friday, and then there's 20, which it seems like we would have enough.
Well, I just didn't know if it was like filling up, like if I could go, or if it was still.
Are you still considered a junior?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because of how soon I am supposed to, but yes.
It's juniors and seniors that are going, so I'm sure you guys will be able to go. You're all junior senior status, it looks like, at minimum. I have sophomores that want to go, but I wanted to let the seniors fill it in first. So that's the idea for next week. And yeah, leave early on a Friday and then come back like evening on Saturday, which is a quick trip. Last year it was a little longer. Well worth it because it's a cool visit and there's a lot of good things to see and they feed you. And a few other things. Sydney, did you have a question about it? I saw that. I was like, are you talking about UC? Because today I'm just finishing up on when you lead the group, how you write your progress notes. And I even got the law about. Oh, I'm remembering though now quickly that we were going to have an example of this clinically appropriate services for the kid. And I promised it the other day. She said she wants to go. Will someone be sending an email? I feel like with you guys, you'll have Miss Jackson. I gave her priority seating because she has all you guys as seniors. And then she'll probably send the email. And then I have sophomores on demand if we don't fill everybody up with the 20 from her classes. How are in your field? You guys aren't in field class, so that would be the majority of her students. She has, I think she has 9 right now in field. So that would be, she has at least 6 because then that counts as 3 hours. So yeah. Does your practice 1 class have about 10 people? Or is it a lot, like 15 or 20?
No, I think it's, well, it's supposed to be 10, I but I think 6 of us or 5.
Are regulars? Is
Yeah,
it,
about 6 or 7 of us are regulars.
is it Zoom? Mine is sometimes.
I
Okay.
guess one's on Monday, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay. So 6 from that class, 6 in the field. And that's 12. I know some were coming from Wilberforce too, so that could take some of those 20 seats, but I just wanted to leave it to sophomores and juniors, and she'll send something out. It's nice that UC offers it. She and I were both a little bit thrown off by the disorganization.
And this is strictly the master's program.
It is strictly the master's.
For any major or just
It actually is open to any major to go into social work, but it is for a master's of social work. So a lot of psychology majors go into social work and do the 2-year program. That's what I did.
I have the wrong notebook.
What's that?
I have the wrong notebook open. I thought it was for your class.
That's okay. Well, no, I wanted to go into this one because I promised it Monday, and I wanted to do it whether there's more of you guys present. So, this is the way treatment plan. So when you work for an agency, you guys both will. Nikita just found out you could get a social work trainee license with even your bachelor's. I always thought you had to have be a master's level student, and you get a social work trainee license, which allows you to bill Medicaid for the clients you see, and that's how a lot of agencies then give you a stipend for the clients you see. She said it's open to bachelors, which I was shocked but excited, because if they could help you guys get a social work trainee license while you do your internship, you're more likely to have funding for that internship. And when you're billing for those years, we've already done the assessment. And when you're leading groups, you have to have the same assessment and diagnosis. We've gone through that with Homer, like it's a diagnosis. A lot of times with kids, it is adjustment disorder. That's only good for like 6 months, but they're adjusting to like a divorce or a move or school changes or a death in the family. And that's why it lasts 6 months, because they want you to reevaluate the student or kid in 6 months to see if anything's changed and if the treatment plan goals have to change. So assessment, diagnosis, treatment planning. So this is kind of how you do clinically appropriate services from that treatment plan. And this is, on this slide, it is what could demonstrate a need for a brief increase in services. So there's 3 here: multiple hospitalizations for either suicide or homicidal ideations or self-harming. Also an ongoing crisis in the home, a community, or school leading to one of the following without intervention. So legal charges or legal involvement and or removal from the home. So like that's when you're going to have to come up with a new treatment plan for kids. If they're in groups, it may change them from just going to the girl circle into a trauma group or something of that sort, like a step up. Some examples are like school suspensions, expulsions, homelessness, death, significant trauma, violent behavior to self or others, and then inappropriate sexual behavior. So those are a few. This next one is an example, so it'll throw a question out to you guys. It says, what could demonstrate a need for more intensive services? Oh, it's actually the next slide, but this is more intensive services if the client can't be handled in a less restrictive setting. Client is at risk of being removed from the home. Client cannot maintain the present placement due to his or her emotional problems. Symptoms significantly interfere with social, family, vocational, educational, or psychological functioning. Impairment occurring more often than not over the past 60 days, or have had a duration of 6 months. And then client is at moderate to high risk of injury to self or others. Client is currently or has been hospitalized, within 6 months, Child has a parent who has dysfunction or disability that causes them to be unable to meet their minimum mental health needs. So here's some of the things you can do. We mentioned groups, but case management, partial hospitalization, like the day treatment program, wraparound services, individual aid services, residential treatment, crisis stabilization, and non-traditional treatments. Some of the stuff like they'll fund through Ohio Medicaid. I'm trying to change the slide on the wrong computer. It doesn't work. Okay. Next, here's your example. So Bryce is a 6-year-old male client who's diagnosed with ADHD. He's been with behavioral health for 10 months and receives case management 2 times a week and therapy 2 times a week. He sees a Lighthouse psychiatrist who is prescribed a stimulant, which is at a therapeutic level. Working successfully, he is reportedly doing well in school and is able to focus and maintain attention to tasks. He has no suicidal ideations or homicidal ideations and no oppositional or aggressive behaviors per parent and teacher report. He continues to struggle with being organized and with staying focused during transition times. My question goes back to you guys. Is this guy an appropriate level of care for him? And what are your recommendations? And I know it's a loaded question, so I can help you unless if you want to try to answer it before I talk. So he has somebody 2 times a week for case management and a therapist 2 times a week. He's ADHD. He's got nothing much report. He's just a 6-year-old disorganized for class.
And then your question to us is,
Like, are we seeing him too many times? Is that when you get audited by the state? Like, you're seeing him, looks like upwards of 3.5 to 4.5 hours a week.
I feel like he would be fine with one of the others.
Right. You're spot on, yeah. And that's why, unless if you can in some way articulate in your notes, and this is why we practice writing so many papers, how do we argue and articulate this kid needs 4 hours of services a week, paid for by the state at $89 and $99 an hour. So that's like almost $400 a week, paying the agency to send you to go see him at probably 20 some dollars an hour. So you're right. That one's right. Here's the other example. Penny is a 15-year-old female client who has a diagnosis of bipolar. She's recently opened with behavioral health for therapy. She's being seen 1 hour a week. She has a history of cutting, suicidal ideation with attempts. She's been hospitalized 4 times in the past 18 months. Her last hospitalization was 3 months ago for trying to strangle herself. With a belt, she's currently prescribed medication for mood stabilization, has an appointment with the Lighthouse psychiatrist. She's verbally and physically aggressive towards her parents and her siblings and has been suspended multiple times, trying to hurt her peers and charging at a teacher. She's not on an AEP, which is Individualized Education Plan. She's being told her next incident could lead to expulsion. Her parents fear they cannot keep themselves, the family, and her safe, and has called 201 Kids for help. She feels everyone else is the problem and she doesn't need services. Is this the appropriate level of care for Penny, and what are your recommendations? So it's at the top, they say. She's seen an hour every week for therapy.
Yeah, and then she's also on medication. And then she's at risk. She's been hospitalized 4 times and she's at risk of being expelled. So the therapy is nice, but maybe we need to talk a little more than 1 hour.
Right, yeah, you could argue in your notes very well that she needs either partial hospitalization.
And yeah, I guess another thing that I would kind of be concerned about is like maybe having someone to talk to at school, or maybe switching schools
Mhm.
to someone that can like better accommodate, you know.
She could go to the Lighthouse Community School. So, yeah, she could see more. You could very easily document in her notes what she needs for people. So yes, answered both well. This is also how we do it. I don't know if these links work anymore. That would be cool if it did. But so the golden thread is you do an assessment. You're trying to thread the need for therapy and the need for case management and the need for groups into these services. And there are books that help you do that. I want to see if this still works. I bet you it doesn't, but if you search this, I'm pretty sure you can find a link to these free still. Say skip verification. Let's just watch it. It would be cool if we still had access, but I don't think we do. They might try to sell it to us. So yeah, it's the Child Psychotherapy Treatment Planner. There are tons of books like this that will help you get ideas for treatment plans for like ADHD or I'm sure do this. And these help a lot with in fact, I think I still have it in Dropbox. So I could even send one of these to you guys if you wanted it. Child Treatment Planner. And they're cool as they give you ideas of how to write up your treatment plans once you have a diagnosis. Like, what are you going to work on with this kid for this, that, or the other? Thought I opened Dropbox. Okay, here we go. So, Child Treatment Planner. Sure enough, I have some stuff. So that's probably one. And these will help you like as you learn how to be a clinician and practicing social worker, how to write up treatment plan and stuff. So dang, it's 545 pages.
I'm sorry, for the treatment plan, you said we leave on the 28th, and we're back on the 29th.
Yes, next Friday and next Saturday.
Okay.
Let me see if it lets me send a copy. Okay, it does it through Dropbox. Oh, it's like a link I can share to you guys. Copy link and send email. So it helps. We'll go to Miami and paste that into it. Nope. Okay. So if you guys wanted something of like this treatment planner, I certainly can send it. And it's just like showing you how to write up treatment plan goals. And they have one for everything: adoption, anger control problems, anxiety, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, blended family, divorce reaction, eating disorder, grief and loss, obsessive compulsive disorder, parenting. Oh, I think they're hot links. This is fun. Yeah. So expressing feelings of inadequacy and setting effective limits in his or her adolescent child, reports difficulty in managing. And then they give you examples, which is nice. So like long-term goals: achieve a top level of competent, effective parenting, effectively manage challenging problem behavior of the adolescent child. And they have objectives down here: strengthen the parental team by resolving marital conflicts. Short-term objectives: identify major Concerns regarding the adolescent child's behavior. That sent fast. So download it here as I work on that computer so much better. Then therapeutic interventions. So they show you how to write up these treatment plan goals, essentially, is what those are doing. And like how to write them and lots of ideas of how to do it. And I always try to keep as many digital files of these books because they help you when you're writing up your own treatment plan. And they'll help train you guys, and it certainly helps to have those. But that is, oh, do I have two of those open? It's funny. So yeah, with clinically appropriate services, we had, I'm gonna close this. We went through Penny. So the treatment plan, this is usually what it does. The guide for treatment is, oh, it's still showing. That isn't it. All right, I'll go ahead and then just hit play this way. Is it showing up now? So my computer's like lagging behind, which is kind of annoying. Like this is not what's showing up right here. So, okay, guide for treatment. Completed on every client prior to any mental health services being billed. So that's the big thing, like for your agency to make money. You need assessment, diagnosis, and a treatment plan. It reflects the client's strengths, needs, abilities, and preferences of the client indicated in the assessment. It's based on the client's diagnosis determined in the assessment, and it's collaborative effort with the guardian, client, and treatment providers. Updated at least annually with any changes. So that's the one I said. Every year you need a treatment plan. Sometimes you need them every 3 months or every 6 months also. It just depends on the billing person. And it just shows the goals you're working on, how you're treating their disorder. Oh, I forgot it won't show me here. I have to go here. So these are all just like legalistic things, but like you need your name, and then probably when you get your bachelor's, you could have a BSW, LSW, or if you have a master's, MSW, LSW, or even an independent license. The date, your signature, when you want to review it again. If it's jobs and family services client, your diagnosis. So if it's depression or anxiety. Brief narrative sometimes, that child strengths and needs. I forgot what the A stands for, but that's CANS. Clinically significant areas on the goals. What domain best describes the goal? Goal sheets, each page has one goal, which we went over this like Friday, where like Homer had a goal to lower his depression and anxiety. Homer had another goal for family. Each goal should be related to their diagnosis. So like for him, it was his depression. And then the overall goal for like a whole page. Then you do quotes of client words, like I just want to feel better, something like that. So it's showing that you've talked about the client with the goal and you're not just forcing a goal on them. Like you're going to work on this and I don't care what you have to say, you're going to work on it. In social work, we're collaborative. We work with our clients. We take their input. Then with each goal, you have objectives. They're action-oriented, specific and measurable. Then they show you some good examples too. How often they'll see you, if it has to be reviewed, to update the goals. And then sometimes guardian and family will also give input. So you can get input from everybody, especially on adolescent treatment stuff. So both answers are yes. I like how they tell you. If you feel you want to answer no to either question, please see your supervisor. So they're showing that you have to have that collaboration. You can't just like make stuff up that you're working on with people and voluntold them to do it. Like you actually talk about what are your goals to get out of therapy, to get out of seeing a social worker. And then the transition plan is if you like pass them to a new agency. Permanency planning is with often adoptive kids. And if you're aim towards family reunification, that's okay. Just put that in there. Then it's still not showing it, which is kind of annoying. The computer's like way behind. And then their discharge date, it can't be unknown. It always has to be like a year. Or 12 to 18 months. That's definitely the longest. But you would have to do a new treatment plan in 12 months. And then you sign everything. So it could be you, the parents, the kid, and that shows everybody dialoguing about what treatment plan goals are you working on. Oh, now the computer's all froze up. Great. So I'm going to reboot, but is some of that followable? Like diagnosis, assessment, and then a diagnosis, and you do some treatment plan goals, what you'll work on in the sessions with the kids. Have you ever done stuff at an agency yet or volunteered where you help with kids or a day camp or anything like that?
I did something similar to that. I was younger though.
Okay.
Like recently, I was kind of like a camp leader.
Yeah.
Like, so the kids were coming in for summer camp, and I would help them like go to their classes, or the teachers needed help, like preparing an activity for them to do. I would help with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. And they probably, I bet they even have you guys come up with some plans of action of how you're going to work with the kids.
We would have to like, yeah, we just gather and stuff like that. But also like during this time, we try to like talk to them and create activities to do, like playtime activities and stuff like that. But again, that was a while ago. I was
Right. Right. Yeah, that was the first times I started doing work with kids and even having a treatment plan. And I never thought it would roll over into my social work. I should open up. Oh, it's still doing that. I thought it would mimic the. Oh, I remember now. Somebody changes it back on this actual screen to not mirror the views. It's annoying. So I'm going to fix it. Whoever it is will probably get annoyed as they'll switch it back, and then I'll switch it back, and then. Sorry. So display, here it is. On display, you can. One of the options is to exactly mirror, extend these displays, or duplicate. That's what I want. Yay. Keep it. Keep changes. Yay. All right. I didn't realize you weren't seeing a lot of what I was showing for half the class. Okay. So. They'll have you guys do this as like a interns. I feel like we did have our mental health goals to have our interns learn how to do this. So here's a quick 2-minute video on treatment planning too.
In this quick 2-minute tip, I'm going to show you how you can write your treatment plans better and faster. Let's get started. The easiest and most direct way to make your treatment plans better and get them done more quickly is to write them with your clients in person.
There you go.
I know a lot of people don't do this, but what they're doing is actually spending way more time and effort on treatment plans than they need to. So when you write your treatment plans with your client in person, number one, you save yourself time because you are not having to write something later or before you see them. Just write it with them in the session. Number two, it will also make your treatment plan so much better because you'll be able to use your client's words, you'll be able to ask them for feedback, you'll be able to share with them what your involvement is in the process, and you'll be able to get their feedback on how they want to be involved in therapy. So ultimately, it makes your treatment plans better and your clinical treatment better. Now, you can do this by typing or by writing. I say to do whatever it is that you use for your typical client record. So if you have a paper record, then have that form with you and just write it out right there with them. If you use an electronic health record, then have your computer or an iPad handy so that you can type it out right then and have it inside the electronic health record. Click save as soon as you are finished talking to your client. That way you don't have any work after the fact, and you know your client is totally on board with exactly what your treatment plan is. Now, this is a tip anyone can implement right away, so I encourage you to do it the next time you are writing a treatment plan or revising a treatment plan. It can be a little scary, but I guarantee you will find it's an awesome conversation to have with your clients. So if you've tried this strategy before, let me know in the comments below. Share with us some tips that you have or how it went.
So she's saying the exact same thing as we are. And you will find a lot of stuff on assessments and treatment plans. So, because that's really what the global agency is looking for from you. So whether it is government, Medicare, Medicaid paying for it, or a private insurance company, they all want to see how you've done it. Well, this opened the slide we last left off on. That would be too good to be true. So next piece is on progress notes. So yeah, and then the piece about it is like, keep it in mind, everybody will see them. So that is your boss, so your clinical service providers, the psychiatric staff, so sometimes they help provide medications based on your notes. Funders like Medicaid, FAIR and JFS are like Jobs and Family Services, and FAIR places kids, same as with the court. Client's family can request them, so you never want to write bad stuff about your client in the notes. Has anybody ever told you guys that yet before? Who else has told you all that? Because I guess I'm just curious.
I'm sure Ms. Jackson has mentioned it, like making sure that your notes are accurate, based off your opinion, but what you see with your client.
Right.
My only question, I know that, like, if a client is involved in something legal, like the court system, you can ask for them to be, this isn't the right word, but like locked files. And they can only the judge can view it or something.
Right,
like that. I forget how you.
Counselor-client privilege maybe or something. I mean, they are confidential,
like,
so.
Protected files, but my question is, how is, like, let's say your client is of age, like you're 18. How can, like, Medicaid, like the funders still get their documents without it being
Right. So that one is a very good question. I usually write them in such that if they did look at them, there's not all that much that they can get from it. Like I keep it generic enough, like working on treatment plan goal number 1, doing well in therapy, moving forward. Maybe because they do have the financial say-so over them that they're able to pay for it, they're actually funding this, they should have at least the ability to see some of it. Keep in mind there's 39,000 social workers and there might be, and that's in Ohio, and there might be millions of clients. I don't think anybody's looking at those notes. Now we still do like a self-audit and like make sure we're doing everything proper, but the majority of the time, you're right, they don't have time to look at it. But I think it's because they actually pay for it. So they must sign like a waiver in your assessment, like the person who is paying for it has the ability to see this assessment. So they, like that's one of the signature pages at the end. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm curious
I
how
just know because like
Nikita answers that too.
Depending on how old your client is, I know that's that's kind of a factor. But
right,
like since I'm 21, like my mom can't request.
Oh, your mom cannot request your stuff.
Right, but I think that starts at 8.
Right, but funders are
starts at 8.
Right, but funders are paying for you. Like in order to receive payment for services, I waive my right to them to see it.
So that's usually when the documents when your client first comes in and they sign off on the paperwork.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. That is a good question. I mean, I never really thought of it
Because I think
overly.
we had like clients had to sign a waiver of some sort to expose like what you and the client talked about, what your diagnosis is.
Right. Yeah, they do. Yeah, there is a waiver for sure. And I'm wondering if when you sign up for insurance in the first place, you know how you do like
Yeah.
check sheets, and it might just be like, I waive the right to them to have access to my medical records because they're paying for it. Otherwise, I might want to go to a different insurance provider that can guarantee it's confidential or whatnot. That's a good question. I mean, I wonder if somebody, how would you phrase it if you were to do a search? Because I've never even done that.
My question was basically, how can insurance do confidential notes?
Well, I'm guessing you waive that. There's the first answer. If they're paying for counseling or therapy, they can absolutely request records. They request the entire record if they want. They can request copies of notes. They can request a summary. It runs the gamut. They can ask for as much or as little as they want. Dang. Well, here you go. Here's another one that says, cannot obtain psychotherapy notes without the patient's authorization. The insurance company is not permitted to condition reimbursement on it. So on the internet, you'll get all kinds of answers. There are several ways that life insurance can check your medical background. One is to order a copy of your medical records. So that's more life insurance. The privacy rule allows health plans, clearinghouses, and healthcare providers the ability to disclose protected health information to business associates, such as insurance companies. Yeah, it seems like it's different based on every provider. It's almost like a law class you would take on the confidentiality. I mean, we can't disclose it, but they certainly can, it looks like. HIPAA gives special protection to psychotherapy notes, but providers often misunderstand what are not covered. So yeah, I'm sure it's a 1,000-page law that gives like exceptions to the rule and like places that can allow it and places that don't. That means recorded notes in any medium by healthcare providers, the mental health professional. So you can tell it's a long code. These are the laws that they're numbered under. To be considered psychotherapy notes must be separate from the medical record. The 2000 commentary explains the reason with the rules HHS practical view of what constitutes therapy notes. Comment. Some commenters thought the definition of psychotherapy notes was contrary to standard practice. They claimed that the report of psychotherapy are typically part of the medical record, that psychologists are advised for ethical reasons, liability risk management purposes, not to keep two separate sets of notes. So I know it's giving you more mumbo jumbo, but these process notes capture the therapist's impression of the patient, contain details of the conversation to be inappropriate for the medical record, are used by the provider for future sessions. We were told that process notes are often kept separate to limit access, even in an electronic record system, as they contain sensitive information relevant to no one other than the treating provider. That's kind of how I view it. Like, this is notes for me. these separate process notes are what we are calling psychotherapy notes. Summary information. Many believe psychotherapy notes should include frequencies of treatment, results of client tests, summary of diagnosis. So we do that in the assessment. Functional status, treatment plan, that's also in the assessment that I do. Symptoms, prognosis, and progress to date. They claim this information is highly sensitive and should not be released without the individual's consent, except in cases of an emergency. And I know I'm not answering your question very directly. I'm just seeing what the people say, but there is laws written about it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I know like here, well not here, but my doctor or whatever said that I had to sign a like release form because I have the ESA back at home that I'm trying to get on campus.
What's they stand for?
Emotional support animal.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. So you do need, yeah, you probably would need a release of information.
Yeah, it's not just limited to like the
Mhm.
maybe it's over that.
Right.
So I was wondering if it was the same for, like insurance and stuff like that, like, because that's, I mean, to a certain point, that's private and confidential.
Right,
information,
yeah.
so. But I imagine when you're looking for insurance and stuff, they probably put that in the contract or whatever that is.
So when I do EAPs, and that means Employee Assistance Program, that's paying for therapy 6 or 8 times, 10 times, they actually do ask for an update. But that is separate than my note. So I fill out a form in order to be paid, and I say if they did their treatment plan goals, they did that, and how it was treated and whatnot. But now courts have requested their notes and records, and I have a client sign the release for that. May not share psychotherapy notes with healthcare data bank absent patient's authorization. And this one says yes, provided the covered entity only has obtained the individual's written authorization with that law. There's a few exceptions. Privacy rule requires a covered entity to obtain individual authorization prior to a disclosure of therapy notes, even for a disclosure of healthcare provider other than originator of the notes for treatment purposes. 4 covered entities operating in an electronic environment allow covered entities to disclose protected health information pursuant to an electronic copy, valid and signed authorization. I feel like I did have to sign, like when I had an injury and got physical therapy, and they wanted to see like all of my health history before that, and I had to even sign that over to an insurance company. But I know it's still not answering your law. HIPAA does not give special protection to mental health records as compared to psychotherapy. Note state laws may, to the extent those state laws are more restrictive than HIPAA, providers are required to comply with those laws. So I'm not sure if that gave us answers or just more questions. So there is special protection, but it still says, but providers misunderstand what's covered and what's not. What is a psychotherapy note? I do wonder that a lot. How did the life insurance people get intel on you? Because that's, seen if you're talking about like deadly illnesses in your family and whatnot. Because they do an exam on you and and things of that nature. So ask Nikita too, is she actually worked within the insurance systems and might actually know. Because we have to keep it confidential. We can't share it with anybody, but I'm still thinking if because they're paying for it, they can ask for at least updates. And then if they want more detailed updates, maybe they send a disclosure to you first. Like, hey, we want to see what kind of therapy you're getting. Will you sign it over? Or we won't pay for anymore, or things of that nature. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, because the question was, how does insurance get access to confidential files or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
authorization?
Correct. Yeah. Are they able to just like pop in and say, hey, let me see the kind of therapy you guys are going through? Or are they vowed to confidentiality too? You know what I mean? Are they considered part of the treatment team because they're paying for your therapy? So they're able to see it, but it still has to be super confidential. You know what I mean? Maybe it's something like that.
I mean, and I get it. I'm not trying to fight them, but I'm just like, you're not related to the client. I mean, it would just strictly be funding.
I know,
And
right?
it's
Yeah.
like, so I would almost say like, instead of viewing like the client and stuff like that, I would say maybe talking to the company, like, is the client showing up? Is the client following protocol? Like, just asking those questions instead of, oh, let me see the file, so we make sure,
Mm-hmm. Right. That's more of usually what I send and say we're doing treatment plan goals to lower anxiety. I don't put too much else besides that. Like, what's the diagnosis? Are they willing to pay for it? But like I said, Nikita has worked for either Medicare, Medicaid, or even like an insurance company. So she might actually know. I've never worked for one, but I'm sure there's some weird law that you can pop in about that explains shit.
that is a question I have, and also like, I have a family member, and we're not entirely sure if she's covered under insurance. I know she wants to go to therapy, but obviously she needs insurance to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering like what the resources I could like find to help her like apply for insurance. That way they can, aid her in what insurance company or not insurance, but therapy they cover that she can go to.
Right. How old is she?
She's 22.
Okay. Because it makes me wonder if like she could get her onto Medicaid.
Probably, yeah.
Right. So she should be, I mean, they might ask for like how much the money is that she makes. But
Does she just cancel the other one, or?
sometimes you can have a primary and a secondary insurance.
Because that's the thing, I'm not working for the company that gave her the insurance, so I'm like, does that, continue, or does it stop with the
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, I just want to look into a few things. It probably will be Medicaid, but I just want to find her insurance, because I know that she wants to go to therapy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You want to find ways we can get our clients to get access to that therapy. That's super important. Usually it is Medicare and Medicaid, but her parents might still be claiming her as a dependent, so then that can make it tricky too.
Yeah.
If she's totally independent, you can easily get on Medicare and Medicaid.
That's the other thing, I'll have to see, like, if her mom is still living or not, and that makes it.
You're just trying to help a friend that's here get on some of that?
No, it's, she's my cousin.
Okay. Right.
So, I'm not entirely sure what is going on, but she needs insurance.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, insurance companies do not like to see a gap, because they're like, what's going on with you? You have, medical stuff. What's even going on? Because a lot of time they get hesitant to cover you if you haven't been, covered for a certain amount of time.
Interesting. I always know that with car insurance for sure. But when it comes to like health insurance, we have so many uninsured people in America. I'm like, and there's no pre-existing law or rule.
Maybe I am. I might be wrong. I might
It's
be
fine.
getting it mixed up with car insurance.
Right. But you're right, they're definitely sketchy
Yeah,
about it.
I feel like insurance is funny acting like they'd like to see that you're covered. And if you are not covered, it was only for a short amount of time, like,
Mhm.
maybe up to a month or two.
It is interesting though, just the whole, like wanting to pay for this or having pre-existing that, because we're supposed to have gotten rid of pre-existing condition concerns with the Affordable Care Act. But people still do say like, well, that was something you had way back when. We can't pay for it now. So definitely tricky.
This wind, or not wind, but the weather has dropped.
It was bad. I think I got a cold sore from it, so I just fought it off. I bought this new machine that apparently kills them. It is a laser for cold sores. I think it worked because something would get them really bad and it would pop. It like they inflate and then it turns into like a cut on your lip. But this thing, I had to buy it with my health savings account card. So we put in a certain amount every so often. So it didn't feel like it was $299 or $300, but it worked. It worked well too. So hello,
Hello,
how are you?
good, how are you?
Doing good. But we can go into progress notes next time and just like how you guys would write them and how when we see a client, how we're going to document all of it. And because I think